Have you ever felt like you needed to be someone else, just to fit in? Or maybe to protect yourself? It's a feeling a lot of us know, but for one man, it became his entire reality. This is the story of how a simple lie, a different name, built a wall around his heart, and the journey he took to finally tear it down. Let's call him Alex. That's not his real name, of course. His real name was David. David grew up in a small town where everyone knew everyone. And unfortunately, everyone also knew his family's difficult past. The name David felt heavy, tied to whispers and sympathetic glances he never asked for. So, when he moved to the big city for a fresh start, he left David behind. He became Alex. Alex was everything David wasn't. Alex was confident, charming, and unburdened. The name felt like a shield. When he introduced himself as Alex, no one knew his story. He was a blank slate. He made friends. He excelled at his job in a bustling design firm. Life, as Alex, was good. It was safe. For a while, he even convinced himself that Alex was who he truly was. He'd been Alex for 5 years when he met Sarah. She was a freelance writer, witty and perceptive, with a laugh that could light up a room. They met at a local coffee shop, a cliché setting for a not-so-cliché connection. Their first conversation lasted for 3 hours, flowing from coffee preferences to dreams and fears. With Sarah, Alex felt seen, but he was only showing her the polished, curated version of himself. Their relationship blossomed. They explored the city together, from hidden bookstores to rooftop gardens. Sarah shared her life with him, her triumphs, her struggles, her childhood memories. She was an open book. Alex, on the other hand, kept his biggest chapter hidden. Every time she said his name, Alex, a tiny, almost imperceptible pang of guilt would hit him. It was a constant, low-humming reminder of the lie he was living. He'd have to be careful. He'd dodge questions about his family with vague answers. "It's complicated," he'd say. He never showed her photos from before he moved to the city. He built an elaborate fortress of half-truths around his past. He loved Sarah. He was sure of it. But he was terrified that if she knew he was David, the man from the broken family in the small town, she would see him differently. That she would see the baggage, not the man she had fallen for. The strain started to show. Sarah, being as perceptive as she was, noticed the walls. She couldn't put her finger on it, but she felt a distance, a part of him that was always held back. One evening, as they were cooking dinner, she asked him, "Alex, why do you never talk about where you're from? It feels like your life started the day you arrived here." His heart hammered in his chest. He deflected, turning it into a joke about wanting to be a man of mystery. She laughed, but the question lingered in the air between them. The lie was no longer a shield. It was a cage. He was trapped with his secret, and the loneliness was suffocating, even with the person he loved right next to him. The turning point came a few months later. Sarah's grandfather passed away. Alex went with her to the funeral in her hometown. He saw how her family and friends rallied around her, sharing stories, laughing through tears, celebrating a life fully lived. He saw the power of shared history, of roots, of a name that meant something to a community. During the reception, Sarah's aunt showed him an old family photo album. She pointed to a picture of a little girl with scraped knees and a mischievous grin. "That's our Sarah," she said fondly. "Always getting into trouble, but with the biggest heart in that moment." Watching Sarah surrounded by her past, her history, her name, Alex felt an overwhelming wave of shame and envy. He had denied himself all of this. He had no history to share, no funny childhood stories, no roots he could claim. He was an Alex. He was a ghost. On the drive back to the city, the silence was heavy. Sarah was quiet, lost in her grief. Alex knew he couldn't continue the charade. The lie wasn't protecting him anymore. It was poisoning the most important relationship in his life. It was disrespectful to Sarah and to the love she so freely gave. When they got back to their apartment, he took a deep breath. "Sarah," he began, his voice trembling slightly. "There's something I need to tell you. Something I should have told you a long time ago." He sat her down on the couch, and the whole story came tumbling out. He told her about the small town, the family problems, the weight of his name. He told her why he ran away and became Alex. He told her his real name was David. As he spoke, He braced himself for anger, for disappointment, for her to walk away. He wouldn't blame her. When he finished, tears were streaming down his face. He finally looked at her. Sarah was quiet, her expression unreadable. She just looked at him for a long moment. Then, she reached out and gently wiped a tear from his cheek. "David," she said softly. The name sounded foreign and yet so right coming from her lips. "Thank you for telling me." He was stunned. You're not angry." She shook her head, a small, sad smile on her face. "I'm not angry. I'm sad. Sad that you felt you had to carry that all by yourself. I didn't fall in love with a name. I fell in love with you. The you who makes me laugh. The you who listens. The you who was there for me this weekend. Whether you're Alex or David, you're still that person." Relief washed over him so intensely it almost knocked the wind out of him. It wasn't a lie that mattered as much as the reason behind it. She saw his fear, his pain, and she met it with compassion, not judgment. The conversation that night was the most honest one they'd ever had. It was difficult, and it was raw, but it was real. For the first time, there were no walls between them. The next day, he made a choice. He started to reintroduce himself to the world. It started small. He called his sister, whom he hadn't spoken to in years. He told his closest friends. Some were confused, but the real ones understood. He slowly began to merge the two halves of his life. He was no longer Alex or David. He was just him. A man with a complicated past, but a hopeful future. It wasn't an overnight fix. Reclaiming his identity was a process. There were moments of awkwardness and discomfort, but with Sarah by his side, he felt strong enough to face it. She encouraged him to see a therapist, to work through the pain he had tried to bury. He learned that vulnerability wasn't a weakness, but a bridge to genuine connection. His name, David, no longer felt like a burden. It was a part of his story. A story of struggle, yes, but also of resilience and the courage to start over, and then the even greater courage to be true. He learned that a name doesn't define you, but hiding from who you are will always keep you from who you're meant to be. And true safety isn't found in a disguise, but in the arms of someone who sees all of you and loves you anyway. Thanks for watching. If you or someone you know is struggling with their identity or mental health, please know that help is available and you don't have to go through it alone. We'll leave some resources in the description below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories like this. See you next time.